As a former market maker, I almost always faded market breakdowns or market breakdowns. Now, it's not that a breakout will never work, but typically you need a very strong catalyst to really propel the stock right through a prior high. In fact, most times stocks take out a prior high, they tend to stall, and they're just a really high probability of being a losing trade. Let's take a quick look at Palantir. If we take a look at this really big move that we had from June of 2024 until the highs of 2025, this looks simple enough, and it looks like on the surface, like, hey, just buy breakouts and, there's just plenty of upside. But if you kind of take a quick glance, if you really zoom in closely, the reality is start to kind of show you how different that really is. So if you look at Palantir here, you had an initial breakout and we sold off. Then after we kind of rallied to new highs, but then a new breakout and we sold off. And then same here. In July, we took out a prior high, we sold off. There are some authentic moves. Like we said, we had a nice catalyst near September that got this going. But most times, even here, buying above a prior high, you tend to see a sell-off. Same with after a tremendous up run, you have a break above a prior high, you see a big sell-off. And this is true even later on. You have this very deep basing structure. As you break to new highs, you get a sell-off. And so you get this kind of repetitive situation where you're trying to buy into new highs because the stock is breaking out and there's this confirmation that things are strong. But the reality is it ends up being a low probability situation. So as a market maker where your job is you have to always take the opposite side of things, you have to constantly be able to figure out, like, do I want to play in the direction of this trend or do I want to fade it? So when beginning to kind of transition to position trading, I had these very two kind of conflicting looks at the market. I understood how important trend was, and there's these innovative companies and all that, but I also knew in the short term, just buying into strength wasn't probably the best short-term way to enter into a stock. And so the reality is most people looking at these different stocks, they kind of are looking at it from the lens of either we're in an uptrend or a downtrend. The reality is when you're trading consistently over and over again, or as a market maker where you have to be trading all of the time, your view is not one where you're always trying to figure out what the trend is. You don't have some kind of crystal ball where you can always figure out we're going up or going lower. The reality is your mind starts to shift about just where do I always have the highest odds at this time putting on this trade. And so I want to show you a different way to look at price action today. And this really is as old as trading is. And there's been a lot of different patterns built on this. But I want to talk about the underlying mechanics that most professional traders are always paying attention to. But I think most people who are new to trading kind of tend to not realize exists. So let's take a look at GEV. So this was one that was a really big trade of mine that had a really big focus for me in 2024 and 2025. If we go back to the beginning of this uptrend, now I want to point out this indicator in the lower panel here. This shows what the range of the stock has been over the past two sessions. So over the past 2 days, how much has this stock moved? And you'll notice that you kind of have these periods of time where, we get a lot of volatility. The stock's moved a lot over the past two sessions. And then you'll have periods of time where the stock hasn't done very much at all. And so the reality is, although people are always focusing on the direction of a stock, if you're someone who's in the business of trading, you're focused mostly on what your risk is and what's the dynamic of the stock at this time if you're putting on exposure. So if you're someone who has to always be trading, you're a market maker and all this stuff, well, why do market makers widen spreads? Why do spreads tighten? Why do the markets shift? And they're always blaming these market makers. Well, if you have to trade, the cost of doing business for you is your volatility. I mean, if I'm a market maker and I have to put a bid there, well, I'm going to put that bid as low as possible if I have to, if I'm worried that we're going to have a sudden dramatic swing. So instead of just looking at price, if you look at the swings of a stock and how wide the ranges have been, that will give you a different viewpoint as to how you should be reacting to the stock. So a breakout, not only does it tend to fade because it's a little more obvious and people are kind of chasing into the stock, but the real kind of problem with it is that it tends to be associated with wide range bars. You get this point where there's this breakout and you have this big up day, and then people buy at the end of the day or during the day hoping that it extends. And most times it doesn't. But the worst part is from a trader's perspective, never mind direction, you took on a lot of risk because you only know you're wrong if, let's say, the breakout fails. Well, guess what? If you have a wide range bar, by the time you figure out you're wrong, you're taking quite the loss. So if you're trading all the time as a professional trader, the risk you have to take on to get exposed to a stock is your primary focus at all times. you just know that you're going to be wrong very often. So I better lose very little when I'm wrong, but then be ready to make a lot of money when I'm right. So if we look at GEV, you can see rather than looking at price and the direction or breakouts, you can see here this price action here on August 15 took out the prior highs. If instead you look at what is the range of the price action, so you'll notice after this kind of broke out to new highs, look at how the volatility dropped. Look at how the trading ranges dropped when we got to these very tight trading ranges. Then we had to move higher. And then again, we had this very tight trading rate. Tight, trading speak is lower volatility. And you can see the drop off in the size of the trading ranges. So there's this very strong dynamic that occurs in trading where a compression of volatility, a dropping of trading ranges, tends to then lead to an expansion of volatility and a new trend. So the beautiful thing, there's two nice elements to kind of seeking this out in a stock versus just the direction or just the price, is that number one, I have to take on less risk because the ranges have compressed. There's not these erratic price moves. At the same time, if a trend does develop, because we're coming from this compressed zone of price action, I will probably get a strong trend going my way because now we have this expansion out of this range. And it makes sense. Why do these trading ranges develop? That's because we had a very large buyer that stepped in, was buying this day after day after day. Finally, they met into a seller. They get to this equilibrium. If we kind of zoom in a little bit more here. And so you get to this tight trading range where the buyer and seller are trying to figure out how much there is on either side. And when one side is finally complete, then the buyer is in control and momentum takes shape and all the rest happens. So you have this constant swing in the markets from volatility expansion, volatility contraction. And again, if you focus on that, as part of your process, like we're still looking for strong trends. We're still looking for these, innovative companies because that's where there's all this kind of potential upside if they continue to innovate and do well. But the timing of things is so important. And so if you keep looking at GEV, again, we had this nice big run up, and then we have this period here where the volatility drops again and sets the stage for the next uptrend. And this happens over and over again. You can see here as we're in this sideways range, you have this drop of volatility, and then that precedes this other big move up. And if you kind of start to train your eyes to see that, you'll really start to notice this all over the place. So now GEV is a great example, and this took place over quite the big uptrend. But if we look at some stocks that have been very strong this year that we've been really focused on, if you follow also the Markets Unscripted podcast, these are stocks I've been talking about all year. One has been VIAV, and this has had a tremendous run, obviously tied to the AI move and all. But looking at, we had this very fast move here where it got on a lot of people's radar around $20 or so. And after this fast move up, I mean, if you take a look at these trading ranges, these are harder to kind of position around. These are wide trading ranges. So not that, if the question is not, are we going or higher or lower, but the how much risk do I have to take on? If you think of yourself like an insurance company, I want to underwrite this person, but what's the true risk? Like that's the real key question you have to ask yourself. When the ranges are wide, you have quite a bit of risk when you're putting on that trade. But you see, whenever there's going to be moments in time where you start to get to kind of this equilibrium where the ranges drop. And if everything else is already positive about the company, this just presents a better time to kind of look for an entry. And you'll see that here we had a drop in volatility. You'll see here we had a drop in volatility. Not only did it precede the next upswings of these trends, but it gave you a good low risk way to enter into the stock in the first place, which is critical. And you'll see this all over the place. You can take a look at CIEN. Similarly, this had a really big run. We've been talking about this for the longest time on the podcast. And you can see here we had this drop in volatility before the breakout happened. We had a drop after earnings. We bumped up. And if you can see, we went sideways very calmly for several days as we got to an equilibrium. And then we expanded into strength. And the granddaddy, this is one where I have to admit I missed because, there's only so many positions in a portfolio. And unfortunately, this wasn't one of mine. But going back to the beginning of this epic move on Sandisk, just a classic model stock to kind of study in the future, you'll see this same dynamic over and over again. So this was in a basing structure, and we all like to look at bases. But by the time the breakout happened, there's a lot of risk that you have to take on. It's not about being right or wrong. It's the amount of risk. And you can see prior to that, look at how the trading ranges had really tightened up. It really gotten much smaller. And you saw this time and time again. I'm not highlighting every one, but the really obvious ones, very big, large move up, and then we went very quietly sideways. You saw the trading ranges dropped, and then we expanded once more. And if we take a look again, we went to another basing structure. Again, before the breakout, where you have this big amount of risk to take on, look at the small trading ranges that you had right before that. And then we expanded into strength. After that big move higher, again, we tightened up and we expanded into strength. And if we kind of go there, oh, even just recently, after a big push to new highs, we consolidated. And now, once again, we expanded into strength. So looking at that dynamic will kind of bring to your eyes a different viewpoint. And I think a critical one, because you have to understand the company and what they're doing. That sets up, what's going on. You have to understand how to interpret the stock, whether it's under general accumulation. We use relative strength. I had a really good video about that last week. You can check on the channel if you'd like to see how to look for relative strength, to see if institutions are accumulating a stock. But then there's still the mechanics of, okay, the setup is there. I like the idea. I think I can see the stock is under accumulation. Where do I actually determine when I'm going to put on risk, and how much risk am I taking on? Is this an expensive time to get, deployed into the stock? Is it a low cost time? That's critical, because I know most people will look at stocks as one at a time, but it's really a series of investments you're going to make, a series of trades over time. And make sure that you keep this really important relationship of the risk that you're taking on for the reward you're seeking. Keeping that under control is going to help you to survive the bad periods. Because obviously, in good markets where things are going up, it's simple enough, and you need one or two winners and they offset all the losers. But you will hit much more difficult markets. And if you're getting to a series of losers, if those are all sizable losers, that's really going to kind of cost your equity curve, cost your account, and bring a lot of pain. So I would like to, I think this is a great example of how to look at stock from a different lens besides direction. I think it's a critical component of where to focus your buying. It's critical in getting the most out of a trade, because it can influence your position size. And I think once you start to look at it from this lens, I think it'll really help you to take your trading to a whole new level, your investing to a whole new level. If you'd like to learn more, you can follow me at carusoinsights.com. I'm on Twitter at trader_M Caruso, and we'll be back here with more videos. See you soon.